Good morning and hope you're having a good start to your Saturday. So, going ahead from where we stopped yesterday. So, yesterday we understood what is rule resolution all about in Pega. How exactly does Pega shortlist a rule to display or execute part of the execution when a flow is being executed? How does it pick a property, a section? Everything goes through a cycle, which we saw yesterday. It's a 10 step consolidated process through which every rule is shortlisted, and it happens within like a second. It shortlists all those rules. This is what is happening inside the Pegasus rule engine. Perfect. That was a really good, interesting class which we went through. Today we'll be moving ahead with our new aspect of learning, that is harness. Today we'll be covering what is a harness in Pega. What is a harness in Pega? So now when we say flow action, why do we use flow action, guys? It's a container for section, right? We have seen that we can specify one section when we define a flow action. Yes or no? Right? What if we want multiple sections to be specified? What if we want multiple sections to be specified? Harness is a container which can hold multiple sections. Harnessed is a larger container. For example, if I have to help you understand, I can do it via MS Paint, I guess. MS Paint. So it would be something like this. Right? So this is the harness. Inside this you can have multiple sections, and these sections will have inside these sections you will have, what will you have? You will have layouts. The layouts will have elements. Yes or no? So this is the exterior most is harness. This could be section 1, section 2, section 3, and this is a layout within a section. Inside that layout, this could be a button, a text field, right? A radio button. So anything like that. Does it make sense, guys? So what we have seen, flow action so far was holding one single section, but if we want multiple sections, we have to go for harness. Harness is a container for multiple section. It's a collection of one or more section. You can have only one section also, but if you want more than one sections, you can use harness. And what sort of rule is this? If you go to Pega and expand the UI records, are we able to find harness? It's a user interface rule. Like how section a user interface rule, harness also a user interface. In the sense, it will be utilized for developing your user interface. That's what it means. And that's why the categorization has been done as user interface. I can open any existing uh, harness and I can see, for example, py create. Py create is one of the harness which I found from the list. I'm opening it. Let us see What is the PXOBJ class for this? Let's understand that. While this is loading, so we understand harness is a container for section, like flow action. Flow action can only hold one. This can hold more than one. It can hold one and more than one. There are four types of harnesses. What are they? New harness. Next one is perform harness, confirm harness, and review harness. New, perform, confirm, review. These are the different harnesses we have within Pega. What is the functionality of each and everything? We'll see that. We'll try to develop something and we'll understand that. Don't worry about it. Let us see if this loaded. It loaded one of the layouts. Okay, and then one of the harnesses has loaded. Let us try to see what is the PXOBJ class. See, rule HTML section. Similarly, rule HTML harness. Make sense? Guys, for section it is rule HTML section. For harness it is rule HTML harness. That's what it is. So there are four types of harnesses: new, perform, confirm, and review. And based on the kind of harnesses, we can specify if they are editable. For example, the new harness is editable. We'll see how exactly we will be editing that. So today's takeaway is understanding what is a harness, and we'll be covering what is new harness all about. We'll cover one by one. Today we'll cover new harness. Perform harness also is editable. Like the name tells, perform, you'll be performing some operation there. That is why it is editable. New harness also is editable. Perform harness also is editable. Confirm harness, this will be read only harness, just for reading purpose. Read only, this is read only. Review is, this is for internal purpose. This cannot be modified. It's for systems internal purpose. We'll see all this, don't worry. Just know that there is something, a rule called harness, which is a container for more than one section. Along with that, there are four types of harnesses, which is new, perform, confirm, and review harness. For example, when we try to work on a case or one transaction, when we try to run a workflow, for example, the customer flow which we have developed, when we run that, that has three harnesses are included as part of the journey of any transaction. Before the work object gets created, a new harness. During the work object is created, perform harness. After the work object gets created, confirm harness gets involved. So in the transaction or work object or case life cycle, the life cycle three typically three harnesses are included or loaded. Three harnesses are included or loaded. First one is the new harness. Before the work object is displayed, we will have the new harness will be loaded. After, during the work object, when you see that a hyphen whatever number which we are having, during that whatever harness you are working on is is your perform harness, because you're performing some operation there. Perform harness, and both are editable. New and perform both are editable is what we have said. After the work object is created, are created, whenever you open it, you see confirm harness. These three harnesses are included. Now when we go back to our development studio, and when I try to create a case, for example, you will question me and say, sir, but you are saying new harness is also included, confirm harness is also included, is what you are saying. Let us open our customer flow. This is our workflow which we have been working on, yes or no? The customer flow, yes, right? This is the flow we have been working on. Do we agree? If you see, for a brief new here, and then it gets changed to work object. So typically we are not seeing the new harness, but from my description, what I told, whatever I wrote here, I told before the work object is displayed, a new harness should be shown as part of a case lifecycle, and during the case is being performed, a perform harness will be coming, is what we have told. Now if you see, the work object is already created. When I ran this flow, work object by default got created, yes or no? Right, it got created. Now there is a tool using which we can debug. We have seen that before, but I'm showing you again. Live UI is a very important tool to debug what section you are working on, to understand what field is being utilized. You will be using this tool. In the footer bar, there are a lot of tools. Clipboard we have seen, tracer we have seen. Live UI is a very important tool used to debug user interfaces. Debugging is a process of identifying, a issue, or troubleshooting some problem the system has, or seeing how the performance is happening for application. To do that, we'll be using a lot of tools. Of that, live UI also is one. Live UI is the tool which you'll be using to debug the interface, user interface. How will I enable it? Just click on it, it will get enabled. If you want to disable it, you have to just click on it again, it will get disabled. Make sense? How does it help you? For example, this section might be present in multiple rule sets. Let us say you have 10 rule sets. In all those 10 rule sets, this section might be present. How will you know which section is getting called? You can use live UI. If you use live UI, you know, and come over here, you will see email. Okay, perfect. If you click on that, this thing will turn into green. Now from here, you can go above. For example, from this field, it will take you to the section. This is a customer details section. Yes or no? You want to know what section it is, from which rule set it is getting called, just click on this icon here. It will open the rule. See, and you will know which rule set it is in. See, it's in 01, 01, 02. Though the rule is present in both the rule sets, currently something which is displayed in the work object is this. It will bring you exactly to that rule set version and the section, the class, the rule which you have been trying to look for. Does it make sense, guys, how live UI is helping you? Yes, no. You will also see what kind of field it is. For example, this is the age property. If you see what it is mapped to, dot age, you are seeing that here. Click on this and you will be able to find, see, integer property dot age. Above that there are radio buttons for gender. Above that there is a email. Above that there is a text input, last name, first name. It's embedded as part of dynamic layout. A tree type of a structure of how this user interface is built. Can I say that? A tree structure, you can collapse it. See, collapse it and it is gone. You can expand it later if you want to see where exactly you are. If it is too congested, you can collapse it to see what is above that. If you keep going above, for example, if I click on this age and if I click on this top arrow, do you see harness perform? Yes or no? The first screen the work object loaded is showing you a harness. All these sections are embedded inside this perform harness. What did we say harness is? Harness is a container for sections, multiple sections. There is a px case main section. There is a py case main inner wrapper section, py case main inner section, py case action area, non-auto generated section, and your customer details section. You want to open the harness, no problem, go there, just go to this icon, click here. This should open the perform harness. What did we say? During the work object is displayed, perform harness will be called. Are we seeing that, guys? Yes, no? If you see, this harness is part of theme Cosmos. When we created the application, we chose this theme Cosmos. That is why we are seeing this harness. It has multiple sections included. But if you go back to my description here, we didn't even see where new harness came, right? We didn't know. The first section we are seeing when we created the work, we ran the flow, is perform harness. But from the transaction standpoint, we should be able to see new harness also. Yes or no? We didn't see new harness at all. But what we have told, before the work object is displayed, in the sense created, we will be seeing new harness is what we have told. But here work object is getting created as soon as we run the flow. So we have to do some modifications to access the new harness. We will see that. But do you understand how a harness is a container for different sections? Are we able to identify that, guys? From our live UI, we are able to see that. See, all these sections are part of a harness. If you click on city, click on this tree, you will see it will be ending up in py, so then ending up in the perform harness. See, submit button, where is this? Perform harness. You want to know what is configured on this button, you can click on this. You can also click on to see the properties panel. What is the properties panel have for this particular button? Does it make sense, guys? See, these are the stuff it has. Don't have to go to the section and check, you can check from here only. Perfect. So I am assuming this is helping you understand how exactly you can debug each and every attribute on a UI using live UI button. Also, we understood when the work object is created, the harness which is coming in picture while we are performing some operations. What are we doing here? Giving first name, last name, stuff like that. When we are doing that, the harness which gets displayed is perform harness. Perfect. Okay. Now let us do some requirement. Okay, let's try to implement a requirement. So we understood live UI is something we'll be using to display that. Now we didn't see the new harness. Let's try to pull the new harness in our picture. New harness will be displayed when we run a flow. Whenever we run a flow, a new harness has to be displayed, but by default it is disabled. By default the new harness is disabled. That is why we didn't see here. We need to enable it. New harness will be shown to the user before the work object is created, but in our case the work object is getting created as soon as we run the flow. That is why we are not able to see the new harness. Does it make sense? How can we know where exactly this new harness is? If you go back to your customer flow and on the process tab, see, once you are on the process tab, you should have an option for that. See, skip create harness, new. What is a work object? It's a new thing which you are creating, right? Here explicitly we have told, or whenever you create a flow, by default the new harness is skipped. Does it make sense? Coming back again, when we ran the current flow which we have with us, by default we are creating the work object, and that is the reason why we are seeing perform harness as soon as we open. But for the new harness to appear, it will appear only before the work object is created. before the work object is created, in the sense this ID before it is formed is when the new harness will be displayed. Right now we are already showing that, that is why it is not visible. By default it is disabled. How can I find that? In the flow rule, under the process tab, we have skipped it under case creation settings. You see that we have skipped. Make sense? Perfect. New harness is responsible for creating the work object. It is the sole responsibility of that is creating the work object. When we run any flow and click on done, new harness does few activities. Like for example, whenever we create a you create a work object using the new harness, few activities it will call. What are those? One is your new from flow, or new will be called what we can see that. So it is just a high level understanding of what happens when you use new harness. From flow is one, I remember. See, this activity will get called whenever a new harness is invoked or displayed. Once you click create, this is out of the box activity, nothing you need to know what is it is doing. It's just a activity which gets called to create a work object. To create a work object, internally Pega calls this. It calls this. It also calls something called add work. We can see that when we run the tracer, we'll be able to see that. See, add work is also a activity which gets called while you are creating. Add create a work object. See, do you see the availability type? What is the availability type for this thing? Final. Didn't we see these availabilities in our previous class? Blocked, available, not available, withdrawn. See, also another where we generate the ID. Generate ID also gets called when we run the new harness. We'll see that. I'm just showing you at a high level what all out of the internal activities. These are the internal activities which get called when you try to use new harness. This generates the ID which we see, A1 2 3 4 5 6 or whatever. This activity takes care of generating that ID. And also it saves the to database, right? It calls save new activity, save new test case, auto test case. I think it uses this to save it to the defer queue. Also work commit, which commits the stuff to DB. All this stuff gets called. That's fine. We just wanted to know what happens when we use the new harness. We'll see that. I'm just giving you an understanding of what all gets called at the back end, just to give you a context of how a new harness is going to help us. Let us try to enable new harness in our current flow. Okay, we can start there. That will give us a clear understanding of what this new harness has to offer. So a requirement could be, for example, in our current flow we are not showing new harness. I want to show a new harness, and let us say, I think we did it here, right? In our customer search flow we implemented the search functionality, right? Customer will be able to search and perform certain operation. Let's try to incorporate that functionality in maybe our insurance flow. Let us see what does the insurance flow have. Okay, it already has this stuff. My customer flow have. Okay, perfect. I think I can modify this guy. Perfect. So all I want to do here is, whenever the work object is, whenever I run this flow, customer should be able to search If for a given ID, if it is already existing, for example, this is nothing but a customer's ID right now. Yes or no? Hold on. I think I have data types. Customer table. If I double click on this and go to the data, I should be able to see what all customers are there. Records. See, all these are customer IDs. For existing customers, it's like telling the requirement right now is we need to include a search functionality before we even create a work object or a new customer ID. We need to check if this customer ID is already existing or not. It's like when you're trying to log into Facebook, if you already have a login, you don't have to create a login again. Yes or no? We don't want to collect the information again. Vishwas is there already. See, because we didn't have that filter, we added him so many times. If we want to filter that out, we need to have functionality. Before we create this guy, we should have functionality to check if this guy is already present. If he is present, route him to a different route. We don't want to capture that information again. If the customer is not available, then display him the capture customer details form. Yes or no? See, right now I'm showing the customer details form. This is only needed when he is not existing. If he is existing, I don't want to show this. Does it make sense? Yes, no. Does the requirement make sense, guys? Okay, let's try to do it. To do that, as I showed you, we'll go to our customer flow. Okay, let me close everything else. Table. Let me go to the customer flow. Of course, to change anything here, first I have to check out, right? To put my changes in, I have to check this out. Once I check out, now I can put my changes here. The first thing I have to do is enable new harness. How can I enable new harness in any flow? From the process category, I have to first uncheck skip create harness. Does it make sense? Perfect. Save this guy. Now from the same thing, if you come down a little, you'll have a harness option and you'll see new here. Are we able to see that, guys? Okay, just click on this icon and it should be opening you that harness. All I have done so far is saved as my checked out my current flow and disabled skip create harness, opened this new harness. So I see this particular thing, see, and a create button here in this thing. Now I want to do some modification here. What is that modification? First of all, I won't be able to modify this because this is of part of theme Cosmos. First, let me save as this and bring it to my rule set. I'll click on save as. If you see right now, keep the name same, part of auto insurance application. However, the applies to class should be my class group. What is my class group? What is my class group, guys? Yes, alpha auto hyphen work. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? This will be my class group, right? How can I know that? Just click on this app. You will see create and open. This was in work dash, which was a direct parent, but I want it in my current. class group. I was able to save as the work class into my current class group. So in the new harness rule into my current class group. Make sense, guys? Yes, no, perfect. Now I do have it. Let us click on, what do I have? Build. Okay, so like similar to sections, this also has a gear icon. You can click on these panels and you will be able to see that. See, for example, build dynamic CRUD UI. Let me open this. I'm clicking on the gear icon and this should open me what it contains. So it tells it has a section called py new case main, which is already configured here. I don't want this section right now. The default section when I try to run this harness which is coming up is py new case main. So now that we have enabled it, let's try to run the flow again and check what does it show us, just to give us an understanding. You see this? It is giving us this sort of a section, which is directly it is bringing us to the py case main, I guess. Hold on. You can check that on through live UI also if you want. Click on this guy and this should be py new case main. Does it make sense, guys? This is a section which is coming after we enabled the new harness by disabling the skip create harness. Now this is the first screen which is coming. See, it is showing new, and if you see, the harness also will be new here. Now we have enabled the new harness, but the functionality is not something which is making sense to me. I don't want this to be displayed here. How can I modify it? Nothing. First disable the live UI. Just click back and live UI will be disabled. Close this. We understood what is happening here. Now going back to my harness configuration. This is the area using which we are displaying that section. I don't want that. Let us say I want to change this thing. I don't want this guy. I want to replace this with the customer search section. I have a customer search section, right? Yes or no? What is that section? You can click here. This should be opening you that section. What this does, it takes a customer ID and helps you search and shows you the results. Yes or no? We built this. So I removed the py case main and I configured it. Cancelling and coming back. We enabled the new harness on our current flow. Now we have to do modifications, UI modifications on this UI rule. Harness is a UI rule. In this new harness, I am modifying, replacing the section with customer section, customer search section. Perfect. Submit. Done. So now the customer search should pop up there. But this should happen after I search. What should happen? Once I search it, if he is already existing, he should be routed to the next screen, which is transaction flow. Yes or no? He shouldn't be routed to. Once we found that the user is existing, we don't need to capture the customer information. We have to go to transaction information. Yes or no? Currently, our flow won't do it. It will be taking him again to the customer info and then it will go to the transaction info. To address that, we have to do some modification. What modification is that? Let's save this harness first. Have we saved it? Save. Maybe we'll check in also. Our changes are being pushed inside. Perfect. The harness modification is done. Let's go back to our flow. Here, we have to make a decision. If the user is already existing, then I don't want to show him customer information. He has to go here. How can I do that? How can I enable decisioning here? I can use decision shape. Have we used decision shape, guys? Yes or no? Before? We have used it. All that this does is helps you in decisioning. Let me move this guy here, right? and this guy here. Perfect. So all I'm saying here is I want to make a decision. If the user is already existing, I don't want to. mm, yeah, if he's already existing, if the customer is already existing, I don't want to him to show the customer information. He should be going directly into the transaction information. That's what I want to do. Let us see how we can implement that. One second, I'm getting a call. Let me respond to this guy. Pa, 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 pa. Perfect. Sorry for that. Perfect. All I did was added a decision shape, and then I want to make a decision. If the customer is already existing, I don't want to show him again the customer details gathering information. I have to show him transaction information. To do that, I added a decision shape and I double clicked on that, and I will see what can I do here. I can fork, I can map. Okay, let us say we want to implement a expression. Okay, a boolean expression. What is it? If it is true, I want to take the, for example, if the customer exists is true, then I want him to show the transaction information. If it is false, I want to show him the customer details information tab. Let us say we want to do that. I can do it using a boolean expression, true or false. Let us see how I can do it. So once I choose boolean expression of this drop down, canceling and coming back, all I have done so far is added a decision shape, and now I want to implement some decisioning here. Let me double click on this decision shape, open, and choose boolean expression. Why? I want to verify if that particular customer exists. How can I do it? I can build an expression for that. We have done this many times before. Let to build that, once you choose boolean expression, this drop down comes in. I'll show you again. It was at fork. We didn't have any expression builder. Once you choose boolean expression, this gives you expression builder. Click on this gear icon. You should be getting the same expression builder which is there across everywhere in data table, decision tables, everywhere we have seen this. In data transforms also we saw this. What should I do? There is a function. It's a predefined function which you can use to verify you know, true or false. It is called as equals ignore case is what it's called. Okay, yeah. See, this is a boolean function. It takes two strings and returns, true or false. See, if I hover here, you see the description here. Signature boolean equals ignore case. String 1, string 2. You can pass two strings. How will you use it? Use to compare two strings for equality. First string and the second string. If the two strings are equal is what we can verify. Let us see how I can use this. I'll be using this particular function. Just click on plus here and you should see that this function comes and populates here. Make sense? If you see our data designer, we do have a field for customer exists, which is a boolean. Yes or no? Where is it? Case ID. Did we create one? Not customer. Boolean. Okay. I don't think it is there. Let us see the customer search flow because we should have used it somewhere. I'm sure we created it. Search flow action. This should be giving me the section which is Customer search section. Perfect. This is the one. And this thing, what have I mapped it to? Source customer ID section. Customer page dot customer ID. Okay, perfect. And I remember we did configure that. Let us see this particular conditional expression. Yes, see, the customer page has this. Customer page is of type, what type? We can understand it from pages and classes. No, I think we have created a page under this particular data model called customer page, under which we are holding that. Data transform, it should be a property. Customer page. Okay, perfect. So this page is of type. See, customer table. Okay. Under customer table, we do have that property. That's fine. So all we are doing is on that decision shape. Let's close this. We don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this. Going back to customer flow, where we added our decision shape, and now we have to check if dot customer exists is true. If the property dot customer exists is true. Let us see. So what it does is dot customer exists is a boolean property. So it will be set, for example, let us test this. Property does not exist. Dot cust page. Dot customer exists. Okay, now test it. It should work fine. Does it make sense, guys? How I have built this particular expression? What it does is the first value will be fetched from the UI, whatever it is. It will be compared against this. If it is not existing, the value will be passed here as false. So false and true, it will be false. It returns false. That means it will be taking the customer information section where it will be filling the user will be filling the customer details. If it is true, if he exists, then this value will be passed as true for this particular function. It will compare with true. So true, true. That means the customer exists. Then it will show the transaction information. Yes or no, guys? Does it make sense? How exactly we built this particular decision shape? Making sense? Okay, perfect. Now let me submit this guy. We're able to build this expression. Perfect. The expression is ready. So if it is true, it is going here. If it is false, it is coming here. Ideally, the false should be connected to this guy. Uh-oh. Perfect. And the true should be connected to this. If it is true, go into the transaction information. If it is false, comes to the customer information. Perfect. 50-50 chances, true or false. When you toss a coin, what are the chances you will get head? 50%. False, 50%. Sorry, tail, 50%. Same thing is true with this guy. So the likelihood is 50-50. That's fine. Perfect. Let us try to save this. Perfect. Got saved. On the false, we can also condition type is result. We can change it as else. If else. If true, take that path. If else, take this path is what we are seeing. That's what we are seeing. Nothing fancy here. If true, it is going to take this path. If false, it's going to take this path. Perfect. Save. Now let's try to execute this flow. Of course, it will be asking for customer ID. Is this a new harness, guys? Is my application showing new harness now? Yes? No? The new harness which we customized is appearing here. Do we agree? See? If you open it, it should take you to the new harness which you customized. Alpha auto 010101. Perfect. Right? Here you can give a customer ID which is existing. Let us say if I give C-1 search. Customer ID does not exist. So he has to create. Let us say we give something which exists. Let me go here. I'm sorry. Data types, customer table, and records. And let us pick up this guy. Go back to your new harness. Search for this guy then. Search. Oh, he exists, right? Let's click create. Now what should happen? What should he see? He should be seeing transaction information. Does it make sense, guys? How using new harness you are designing your flow. If the user is already existing, show him login page of Facebook. If the user is not existing, show him register page. Haven't we seen such implementations? Create one more. Run. See -1. Check if he is existing. No. Then create. Customer details section. Were we able to understand new harness? That's the work of new harness. After that, what is this harness? Once the work object is created, what is the harness you will be seeing? You're performing. Perform harness should appear here. Does it make sense, guys? How new and perform harness are being utilized in a case transaction? Perfect. The takeaway from today's class is, yes, there is a rule called harness which exists, which is a container for multiple sections. A new harness will be used before the work object is created. A perform harness will be used during the work object while providing these details. Once you are done with this, a confirm harness will come in picture. There is also a review harness which will be used for internal purposes. We'll also see those, but today new harness is something which I wanted to convey and help you understand how exactly you can enable it. By default it is disabled. To enable it, you will be using the flows process tab to enable it. You will disable the skip button and then it will get enabled. And you can debug it using the live UI debugging tool present in the footer bar. Was this conveyed, guys? Were you able to understand? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for making for today's class, and we'll catch up tomorrow again. And if you guys have time today, I'll try to consolidate the list and send, and if possible, please practice whatever we have done on your local system.